Welcome back, everybody, to the Voices for Blogging podcast, where we have faces for radio and voices for blogging. As always, over in Los Angeles, it's Royce Hamano, and here in Honolulu, it's me, Steve Lee. You can follow us on the Podbean app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at Voices for Blogging and drop a DM anytime. We'd love to hear from you. It's been about a month and a half since our last episode. Way back then, Ethereum was at 1781. Royce, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. And just a little disclaimer about today's podcast is that we are having technical challenges, and if anybody sounds like Max Headroom today, it's a feature, not a bug.
One day we record in the same room together, and we'll be rid of some of these glitches that happens at times.
Maybe. Maybe.
So, like I mentioned, Royce, the last time we recorded, Ethereum was at a measly 1780. What is it, Ethereum at this minute here?
It's 4K. Was that really the last time we recorded?
1781. It was the middle of March, and it kind of peaked up there about that 1800 level. Was trying to establish himself at the 1800 level. And who would have thought? Some 50 or so, 60 or so days later.
Wow,
here we are at 4,000.
That's crazy. I can't believe that was only like middle of March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot that's happened in that time, but yeah, I guess crypto moves fast.
Crypto moves fast. So much has happened since the last time we've been on. ETFs were formed in Canada. It seems like that's some big part of some of the institutional buying. Listening to some interviews from some of the fund managers in Canada, it doesn't sound like it's ending anytime soon, or as ETFs being created on that Toronto Stock Exchange. And it sounds like the US is like the latest to be a part of that game. But it seems inevitable that we're going to start seeing ETFs in Bitcoin and Ethereum at some point in time in the future. What do you think about that?
I definitely think that's happening at some point, but right now for this run, I don't even think that's even really necessary. I mean, I definitely think that institutions are already getting in, just like they got into some of them got into Bitcoin, and it's inevitable that they're going to look at ETH because of all the things that are happening in DeFi and stable coins, being able to settle transactions for financial institutions.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and those same financial institutions, are mulling over these potential products for the really wealthy clients to get access to cybercurrency. I think everywhere I look, when I'm looking through Yahoo Finance or CNBC websites and looking at articles about cryptocurrency in traditional Wall Street firms, this is I keep reading over and over again that they're getting ready to get the products for their customers to buy, which seems to mean accumulating some Bitcoin and accumulating types of cryptocurrency like Ethereum.
Yeah. Although today Tesla did close the book on accepting Bitcoin for buying a Tesla.
Yeah, and it seems like a temporary move, though, right? I mean, the way he phrases it is, and you can tell me, you're a miner, like his reason for doing that was the environmental impact of the mining of Bitcoin. That's why he wants to shut it down until the mining gets more energy efficient.
So
it sounds like a bluster. Like, what's the deal?
I mean, obviously, I'm probably have a little bit of a biased view. I was reading today, actually, in one of the chat groups that I'm in, a take on the whole idea of Bitcoin being used with dirty electricity. And granted that Bitcoin does use quite a bit of electricity, and there's some of that's probably true. There probably is some of this coal being used to generate electricity that's used for Bitcoin. But I think the idea that, hey, there's a lot of that that's happening in China, a lot of the Chinese Bitcoin is used with it's mined using dirty electricity. That was actually pushed by Kevin O'Leary on, I think, one of the podcasts or interviews that he did within the last couple weeks, because he has a clean mining, BTC mining company that, he has interest in.
Yes, self-serving.
Self-serve, yeah. I mean,
Self-serving
definitely, he's not unbiased. But there are large Chinese Bitcoin mining facilities that are, built near hydroelectric producing facilities where the amount of electricity that they produce is in such excess that these mining companies, it just makes sense for them to be built there, right? So that you could say, that's clean energy. And there's other facilities that around the world that are like that too. There's a ton of facilities that are set up in Iceland, right? There's a ton of facilities that are actually set up in Washington State,
right?
And the interesting things about those places, and I'm sure some of the places in China too as well, is that they're in part of the countries where the climate there is a lot easier to cool these machines just through the ambient temperature, around the facility. So they can just pump in the outside air basically, and that can help cool their machines instead of spending a bunch of money on electricity for AC and things like that.
And I could be wrong about this, but a country like Iceland, if I remember correctly, I think I might have seen a documentary about this, because I watch these random documentaries all the time. But I'm pretty sure Iceland is a country that's pretty big in geothermal energy. So
yeah, it's huge in geothermal.
Right. So they're they're using pretty clean energy. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think this is some kind of, I think trying to figure out everything that Elon Musk is thinking is kind of a fool's errand half the time, because I think he likes just pardon the phrase, but he just likes dicking with people all the time. That's just kind of what he does. And because he can, it's kind of one of these things where it's like one of my friends who just got into crypto complaining about. He goes, I get the critics when they say, with the problem with cryptocurrency is a celebrity that's using it or has been a fan of it. If they see something negative, the value tanks. But I'm like, okay, it tanked, but pretty temporarily. I mean, how is it any different than an analyst coming on to talk about a stock and it goes down that day, but eventually works its way back up?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's no different than Elon saying, "Hey, 420, ha ha ha, Tesla, Tesla 420 or whatever," or the stock is, I think Tesla stock is too high. It's the same thing. I mean, he's a marketer, right?
He's a market manipulator.
He's a promoter. I think he likes the attention.
He loves it.
There's a lot of people today that are really not happy with him, though. It was really interesting to see. Like, I'm still in shock that he has such a big influence on just people in general. And it took away really some of the stuff that was happening this morning in crypto with Vitalik selling all his dog coins that was, basically he was given by these different projects, these dog projects, like Shiba and what was the other one? Like Akita, I think, and some other stuff. Yeah, I haven't even been really keeping track of all the names because there's so many. Like in the last week, the amount of volume that's been transacted on each of these coins, I mean, they were 5 of the top 10 volume coins on Uniswap, which is crazy. Well, I mean,
look at the market cap. Okay, so I'm going to go down the market cap of some of them. Yeah. So Doge has a market cap of 58.4 billion for a coin that really doesn't have much of a function or at all, other than Elon Musk saying that he's going to exit for SpaceX excursions, when we don't even know when that's really going to happen. And then you look at something like SHIB. the Shiba Inu coin, that has a market cap of 7.5 billion. Now, mind you, that's bigger than Aave, one of the bigger DeFi coins out there. It's much bigger than Compound, who only has a market cap of 4.1 billion, who does a ton of fees, who garners a ton of fees from DeFi. So you're right. I mean, I think you're right. There's at some point in time, like, don't know when, but at some point in time, it would seem like these coins don't hold up. But can you shed a little light on who Vitalik is and why that kind of moved markets a little bit when he had, that he's getting rid of all his coins?
So for those that don't know, Vitalik is actually he's basically viewed as kind of like the founder of Ethereum, even though there were a bunch of them. He's kind of like the main one, and he's kind of looked at to Ethereum kind of like equivalent to Satoshi is looked at to Bitcoin, even though he's kind of more of at this point kind of like a figurehead in some ways. They kind of look to him as the main guy for Ethereum, so he does carry quite a bit of weight. But what happened was that as part of the I guess the marketing for some of these dog coin projects, they gave him either coins or some of the liquidity tokens that represented those coins in Uniswap. And what he did was basically he took out the liquidity of Uniswap, or he took the tokens that were given to him and he gave that to different charities. Because he sold a bunch of his coins, obviously, and he had a ton of them. He had in some cases, I think he had half the circulating supply.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, dumping half the circulating supply, like
stuff coming, it's coming down.
It's coming down. Yeah, it's coming down. Like the slippage, I think in one, maybe it was Shiba that he sold. It went from like $1 million worth at the basically of what the value was, and by the time he sold it, it was like 500K. So he took a slippage of like 50%, which is a lot.
That's insane.
But again, he donated that money to charity. In fact, I think he ended up donating. I think they said 1 billion worth of coins to India COVID relief. Was it 1 billion or one? I don't remember. But by the time they sell it, it's not going to be worth that much. Obviously, like there's liquidity plays a part in it and everything, right? But
you gotta find buyers to match this.
But they'll have some money,
right? More than they started with. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm checking out an article that just came out earlier today about Ethereum, which, by the way, Coinbase does give Vitalik the credit as being founded, that he founded Ethereum.
Yeah, I think he wrote the white paper.
So the market cap of Ethereum this morning overtook the market cap of JP Morgan and Visa.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, right? Because there's going to be naysayers, I think, all the way up. Obviously, you and I are believers that cryptocurrency, in some way, shape, or form, is here to stay. Does it continue doing what it's doing? Okay. I mean, of course, there's a possibility that it doesn't. But when you start hitting these kind of levels in the value of the cryptocurrency, I think you're bound to get some enemies who almost, in some ways, out of envy, are going to try to talk these things down.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Anytime you try to do something new or novel, there's always going to be detractors. In fact, I was actually just watching something today about the Brit Awards, and they had Taylor Swift on, and she was giving some award, and she was basically saying the same thing, that no matter what path you choose, you're always going to have your detractors, your negativity.
Haters gonna hate, right?
Haters gonna hate, and whatever. How does that song go? I don't know. Anyway,
I'm not gonna try.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where, well, I guess so like, I think some of the investors nowadays, nobody really looks at market cap or cares about market cap.
Right.
which is one thing. But I think the second thing is that there's a lot of this, I guess I would call it momentum investing going on right now,
For sure.
where
For
you
sure.
have a lot of these social media followers, basically, and social media influencers that promote a certain coin or promote a certain project, and with those followers they use that to pump up the price of the coin.
Move
Yeah,
the price. No different than what happened in GameStop in the stock market,
yeah, no different.
and AMC and these other companies. And meanwhile, when you look at the coins, we were talking about there today, the activity in DeFi, the loan operations, the access to liquidity that happens in the cryptocurrency market. There's so much activity happening in there, and Aave is one of the higher market capped, um, and price to sales ratio coins out there. Yet, I sent you some bar graphs today about how Compound is actually doing much more loan activity than Aave does, and their market cap is less than Aave, and their price to sales is half. And yet, when you look at it in metrics of if Aave is breaking out right now, which it is, like right now as we're talking, I believe Aave is at $616. It would stand to reason that Compound at $800, and full disclosure, I bought it today on the dip. I've been trading Compound back and forth over the last couple months. It would stand to reason that Compound might enjoy, I think, some kind of run that's similar to this Ethereum run.
Fundamentally, that would make sense. I think Compound does a way bigger amount of the well, actually, I take that back. I think they're relatively closer now. But Compound's, I think, been one of the bigger ones in volumes, just because in addition to the APY that you can get there,
Yep.
they give you Compound token. And Compound token, back when I was looking at farming this stuff last year, it was like $100,
Right.
and now it's
Right.
like
And
$800, right? And
it hit a high of 900 last night.
yeah, but that's also why I think that, and I'm not sure if they ever will, but it's something that Aave could look at doing too. I think if
Right.
in terms of the usability of the platform, I think Aave
Right.
is a better platform in that sense.
Mhm.
But I think
Mhm.
the reason why Compound has a bigger volume, or used to have a bigger volume, I haven't checked recently, but I think the reason why they have the volume that they do is because they offer, their token on top of that, their
Right.
governance token, right? It only
Right.
makes sense for Aave to do the same at some point. To me, it seems like, but maybe that's not what
Well,
they want to do.
and I'm looking at it right now. Aave has a circulating supply of 12.7 million coins.
Yeah,
Compound only has a circulating supply of 5 million.
yeah,
So there's the scarcity side of it. I guess the point I'm bringing up is there's a lot of reasons to when you look at Compound, where I cut to think, God, there's so many reasons why probably should be higher than it is now. Much like Sushi Swap.
yes,
Sushi's
yep,
getting Sushi's getting a ton of activity, as a fork of Swap. Here's the amazing thing. Like, I'm having this conversation with you like 5 months ago. I
yep.
would not be able to say what I just said to you.
Dude, you're a seasoned crypto veteran now, dude.
It's crazy. I mean, my cousin jumped in, and he's been trading, and we've been texting almost on the daily about stuff we're doing. He was asking about Yearn Financial,
Yep.
and the crazy run Yearn had. Remember that dump? Remember that we talked about last night?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be that guy to buy at 90 and then get stuck with it at 60. Well, that happened today. It
Yeah.
it dipped only to 61,000,
Wow.
and
But
now
even
it's
at
back at 73.
yeah, even at 61,000 though, it's still above where it was before, which is, I think, was at like high 40s. I think,
Before
right?
this break, yeah, before this breakout, it was high 40s, low 50s.
Yeah.
And so you look at that now as the new floor. As if it doesn't violate that floor, whatever sell off to that level, you could maybe have a theory that says it's going to bounce higher.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
you talk about limited supply. That only has 36.66
That's an interesting.
coins.
Yeah, it's an interesting token. The limited supply is one thing, but what the platform offers, it's really a building block for a lot of these other DeFi applications.
Right,
And
right.
you
It's like a
know,
shopping mall. Is it
yeah,
fair to say it's like a shopping mall of
it's
DeFi?
it's like a, yeah, it's like a DeFi or a bank shopping mall where they have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
financial products that they offer
Mm-hmm.
not only to consumers but to other enterprises, right?
Right.
Enterprises being other DeFi apps.
Right.
And there's a lot of apps, a lot of people that are using it to earn yield and other things. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting, and they do a lot of partnerships too.
You and I have talked a lot about it in the last 3 or 4 days about these sharp bottoms, these sell-off that have these real solid bottoms, V-shaped recoveries where buyers come in and these selves are bought so quick and the asset prices kind of hold value if not go further.
Yeah.
We have this one event that you and I have been talking about that is coming later this week, futures expiration. Can you give the listeners just a little bit of background on what has happened in the past with futures expirations? What's the effect been on the market at times, not always, but at times? And how are you thinking this one's going to play out?
Yeah, so this is just a personal observation. At least from my experience over the last couple months about what plays out at futures expiration. So the things that I've seen happening basically is that there's typically a sell-off of Ethereum. Like, and basically I'm just talking about Ethereum prices, but in general it kind of affects the whole market. And probably the same thing, if you look back, probably happens on BTC as well. Where as we get closer to the expiration date, a week out or even closer, the price is depressed for those assets. People, I'm assuming for whatever, either, I guess there's maybe two theories for it. One of it is that whales are keeping the price down to keep the price under their options, the options strike. I guess the second thing is just that, for whatever reason, people are selling and closing positions or whatever. Hard to say, what's really happening, but in general, what I've seen is that the price usually there's a sell-off, and
Right.
it could be a good time to buy.
And what time of day, since it's a 24-hour market, unlike the stock market where we have triple witching, double witching, when there options expiration, most of the activity happens towards the end of the closing, towards the closing bell. And there's a lot of volatility that happens that day in the stock market in that last hour. What hour typically these contracts expire?
I forget exactly what time it is. The thing you have to realize though is that because it is 24/7, you're going to see a lot of that action whenever either large geographic populations come online or they go offline, right, for their workday. So,
Right.
for example, typically you can see a lot of price action sometimes as Asia comes online, and then Asia closes, and then like you can see some stuff where North America comes online and North America closes.
What time is that in North America typically?
What time? What?
What time is that in North America? You're talking about 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
Yeah. So, well, the thing is that like because we're on that, like we have Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. It's a more of a, I guess, 4-hour window. It's kind of, I mean, I guess it's the same way in other places too. But like you'll see like when Asia comes online around like 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon, you'll see big price movements. I've seen big price movements at 6 in the morning.
Right.
As the
Yep.
East Coast. I mean,
I have
obviously
to.
because obviously because that's the financial center of the U.S., right?
Right.
Like New York and stuff.
Right. When you say 4 p.m. though, is that West Coast time or you're talking East Coast time?
West Coast time, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's like around 4 or 5 p.m. That's around like early morning Asia.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's usually when you'll see it. Actually, what was happening during this time too is really weird because back in 2017, 2018, Asia was basically the the area that was leading in a lot of these, crypto
Correct.
in the crypto market. So like
Correct.
Asia would come online, they would buy a bunch and drive the price up, and then everyone else would come online and then do whatever. But recently, in this run, it seems like whenever Asians come online, there's been a dump. So it might be, these OGs in Asia from the last cycle, basically, they made a profit now, so dumping their coins whenever they have an opportunity to. But
that kind of measures out to like today's dump. Today's dump is about it started at about 1:50 Hawaii time, so that's about 4:50 your time today.
Yeah. Yep.
I was teaching a class today at the clinic, and I got my alert from Gemini saying compound dropped below 725. I'm like, ooh, that's a dump, because before I logged off, compound was at 830.
Yeah.
So once I get an alert like that, that tells me something big's happening.
Yeah.
And luckily for myself, I put in a limit order before I started work today. Just bottom fish a little bit where I thought the chart said is the bottom, and I was lucky enough to get in, and now I'm in at a price that's lower than where compound is now. So pretty fortunate about that. But I feel like there's a lot of that going on at some point in time. Like you look at these charts, when you overlay them one day after another, it is a pretty distinct drop right about a certain time of day.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It is. It's fascinating. I'm looking at a 1 week chart of compound, and there's about 4 big drops followed up with really strong buying, just in the last week.
Yeah.
So fascinating.
Yep.
But now that we've done that, we've gone over that. There's so much more to talk about. I don't want to over inundate people with crypto talk. There's so much we should talk about one day, though. I really would like you to explain farming versus mining when it comes to cryptocurrency one day, maybe in our next episode, and then kind of what you're doing with stable coins and how you're using stable coins and using certain portals like Vesper to earn interest, and how does that work and how do people get in on that? So I think that's something we should talk about one day. But that maybe that's the day to get the yay effect going again. We might have to bring another yay show on it and bring Kanye back on.
Yeah, that was funny. We were talking about that. So he's ready to go, man.
It seems like he's always loaded and ready to go.
He was ready. He's ready to go whenever we're ready to do it.
Wait, are we talking about going to Vegas with the two of us, or are you talking about shooting an episode, recording an episode?
Probably both. I'm not gonna lie, probably both.
Yeah. Hey, football season can't come soon enough, man. I can't wait to be there. Get some bets down on football games and just kind of have some sense of normalcy come the fall.
Yeah, and it really can't. Football is just one of the better sports to gamble on. Because of the way that you score, it's only certain ways you can score. It's either going to be a 7 or a 3 for the most part. Yeah, it's just one of the better sports you can bet on. But
I mean, speaking of which, we just had the draft a few weeks ago. What do you think about everything that's kind of transpired since the draft? You being a Bears fan, yet again, they think they've drafted the quarterback of the future. I'm not sold, but hey, what say you?
I'm not so. The franchise is not good. The franchise is not good at evaluating quarterbacks, obviously, and like the competency is on defense. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, it's like we've already proven that we're not good at hiring. We're not good at identifying quarterback talent. Like, why not just go with your strength? Like you can get a, Rex Grossman or, whatever to like hand the ball off and make a few passes every now and then. Kyle Orton, like just have the defense be dominant and run the ball, get a good running back. And
I guess the challenge with that, though, is like you don't get sustained success without a quarterback. Uh, 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 but here's the thing, and stay with me on this one because I know
Yeah.
that that's gonna that's
You're-
gonna kind of be a thing that it's crappy to know, but it's kind of one of those things where when you look at, I'll use something recent like the Seahawks when they had such a dominating defense.
Yep.
Uh, I mean, it wasn't about Russell Wilson. Like
Right.
he gets way too much credit for that first Super Bowl. Like that's the defense.
Right.
The defense won that Super Bowl. Um,
Yep.
but at the same time, then the Seahawks tried to buck the trend. They tried to pay the guys. And but at the same time, the defense only lasts for so long, so they had to break it up.
Yep.
You know, it's so at the same time, I'm a Giants fan. So I'm totally used to having a Super Bowl and then just suck it up for years and then win another Super Bowl. Like whatever. Like who cares if we don't have sustained success? Like
Yeah.
I'm still a Giants fan, even though the last Super Bowl victory was 10 years ago. Point, you got something there where like, you know what, let's make a great defense, make a run, try to get a quarterback that's slightly better than what Rex Grossman was. So he doesn't fumble in the rain in the Super Bowl against the Goats. Um, not to rub that in. But don't you feel like they have that quarterback already? If you're looking for someone mildly as good as Rex Grossman,
You mean in what
wouldn't
they
Nick Foles
had
be
or what
that
they
guy?
have now?
Now, Nick Foles. Wouldn't Nick Foles be as good as Rex Grossman was that year?
Yeah,
If you,
I think Nick Foles would be as good as Rex Grossman. I mean, I definitely don't think Trubisky is it. And obviously the jury's out on the current draft pick. To me, he's like another souped up Trubisky. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, that's the thing. I think people forget about Trubisky, right? He is a really good athlete.
He is, yeah.
He's a really good athlete, and people just don't remember that stuff because he's white. Yeah. I'm just gonna say it. But it's one of those things where it just didn't work out, and I hope Justin Fields works out. But at some point in time, he fell to you. He fell lap for a reason.
Yeah.
Like there's something in the evaluation that at least 10 NFL teams weren't all that hot and bothered to go grab him.
Yeah. Now you're making me sad, dude.
I'm sorry.
But but
Hey, my Giants had a good draft because we took your first round pick for the.
uh
Sorry, man, I brought you down, dude. You want to talk? You want to talk about your success with Ethereum again? That'll kind of. All right, instead of talking about your Bears, Royce, let's talk about another team in division, the Packers.
The Packers, yes. I
Like
cannot
what?
wait to see Aaron Rodgers play for another team.
What in the world? Like
I don't understand
Aaron,
it. I mean, definitely the relationship is soured there for whatever
right?
reason, and he wants out. I think he has a lot of the power in the situation. He could just sit out if he really wanted to.
He can do the Carson Palmer.
Yeah,
He can do the Carson Palmer, and then ironically, he actually could do exactly what Palmer did: sit out here, and then go play for the Raiders.
yeah. The Las Vegas Raiders. Uh, I'm curious to see what they're gonna do. I would love to see the Bears land him, but they're never gonna land him because they're never gonna
Well, they're
get
never.
in division.
No, and they're not going to. He's going to go to the AFC. There's no way. When you're a team that went to two straight championship games, and this is what kind of you can't place my finger on it, right? You went to two straight championship games with this guy. He's the MVP from last year, and come draft time, you are probably one or two offensive players in a serious push.
Yeah,
They don't draft a skill player.
yeah. They definitely could use a skill player. I don't know what they're thinking, but
Yeah, I mean, it's drafts like that make you, when you're make you kind of understand what Rodgers is talking about.
yeah. I mean, he doesn't have much anymore.
No,
Like
he doesn't have many years left. He has Devontae Adams, who's fantastic, but almost gets hurt every single year.
yeah,
And apparently now they have Blake Bortles in camp because he signed today.
interesting.
But nonetheless, this is gonna be a fun season. We got an extra game this year. 17 games, one more game to bet on their season.
I heard about that. So how's that going to work? They're going to have 18 weeks?
They'll still have the bye week, so yeah, it's going to be 18, I believe.
And then how, like, did the NFLPA sign? I guess they must have because they're doing it.
Money. This is all about money. They got to make up for money they didn't make last year to drop the salary cap down. So if they can bring in more revenue, salary cap goes back up next year. So it's all about money. It's amazing how quickly we forget about concussions when money becomes a thing.
Yeah, seriously, like the injuries.
Yeah, but they signed off.
Yes, yeah.
Kind of weakens their position later when if they want to gripe about it. But money.
I mean, on some level, I can understand, I guess.
Me too. I can too. So yeah, I mean, so that's football. Yeah, so Royce, I mean, never mind all this football talk. Let's get back to talk that sport that we not so successfully gambled with while you were in Vegas a couple weeks ago, the NBA. What do you think about that play-in tournament that's right around the corner here?
It's interesting. Like, I'm more of a traditionalist, I guess. So I'm not, it seems weird to me, but hey, you know what? Try something different. It allows more teams to get in. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's what they kind of do in the NCAA now too, right? So
it's a one-game play-in, right?
Yeah.
It's funny to hear like teams that are 8 seeds complaining about this though. I mean, like, you're an 8 seed. You probably weren't going to win your series anyway.
Yeah, you weren't, and who's to say the 8th seed is so much better than the 9th seed or the 10th seed, right? Like, it's there are a lot of cases where in the past, we've had teams that either just barely made it or barely got out of it, right?
Right.
And I think it's an opportunity for those teams, which is great.
Right. So what we're talking about is the NBA has this new thing where the 7, 8, and the 10th seed has a one-game play-in before they rejoin the group of 6 of the top seeds in their conference. And I think what makes it intriguing this year is the Lakers are at 7 in the West.
Yeah. With LeBron and AD getting healthy, right?
Right.
In theory.
I mean, coming to the season, I think you and I probably talked about this. I didn't expect LeBron to play a whole lot this season, just because he needed some time to recover from the championship run last year. It was such a short off season. It makes sense that to have sat him out all this time and just let him recover and just kind of go for it now. Bring him back in a couple games before the season ends. And hey, they're only one game out. I'm looking at the standings right now. They're only one game out of that seed. The Mavericks are at 41-29, and the Lakers are at 30. So anything can happen in the next couple games.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he was out for a little bit. That AD's out for a little bit. I fully expected that there would be injuries this year just because of the shortened off season and all of that. And it seemed like they were, and people are getting hurt all the time. It seems like Jaylen Brown just got hurt. He's out for the season, right? You got Harden finally getting back. KD's finally back. Kyrie's back.
Right.
Then you had the Lakers without AD for a while, without LeBron for a while. A lot of teams went through that. Right. So, it's going to be interesting to see the playoffs again. Like, it could be one of those things where back in, 2019 when Toronto won, where
right,
they went through a bunch of teams and, Golden State had Clay hurt. They had KD got hurt, right? They went through, I guess Milwaukee didn't have any injuries really.
No, they just choked.
Yeah. I mean, well, that series, I really felt like they didn't make the adjustments, but that's another topic for a whole nother time. And they barely got by Philadelphia that year too, right? On that bounce.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Milwaukee, right? I just like to see a small market team kind of get over the hump with that much talent. Giannis obviously has been working on his jump shot. I just don't know. I just don't know if they have enough. I don't know if Drew Holiday is enough of a change to kind of change their fortunes, but we'll see.
Yeah, I just don't think that they have enough. Like when the playoffs come and they start stonewalling Giannis,
Yep.
they don't have a lot of options. Like they never made the adjustments. I felt when Toronto did that to them, and who knows if they'll make the adjustments now. I think they need to have Giannis off the ball in those situations.
Yeah, I mean, Middleton's a nice player. Like, don't get me wrong, he's an all-star.
Yeah,
He's a nice player. I don't know if I can say anything more than he's a nice player. But
yeah,
he's not enough.
he's
I'm not sure if he's enough to kind of carry your team when Giannis just isn't playing Giannis type of ball.
yeah. I mean, if Middleton is not on, he doesn't help your team that much.
Right.
Like he's not one of those guys that is going to do a lot of other things to help you win.
Elevate everybody else, even though he's not playing well on the scoring side of things.
Yeah.
And I hear you on that. So it should be interesting. I mean, I am actually pretty. There's a part of me that actually wants to put a futures bet on the Lakers. Why not?
Why not? I do that or put a futures bet on Brooklyn.
Yeah, but Brooklyn at least, they're the number 2 seed, and I feel like the payoff on that's going to be pretty low.
Yeah,
the Lakers they're sitting at number 7.
Yeah.
They're in like single game territory potentially. They lose their game right now. It looks like they're going to play San Antonio if the season ended today. It could end in one game, so it'd be kind of fun to kind of put futures on those guys.
Yeah. I guess we shall see.
Yep. But how's everything going in LA?
It's going as good as it can be, I guess. Everything's kind of moving towards that more open state.
Mm-hmm.
Infections are down. Everything's down. People are getting vaccinated.
Yeah, you guys have like some of the best numbers in the nation, actually, as far as infection rate.
Yeah, that's it's pretty interesting to see, but we have a lot of other problems. So no time to gloat about that.
Yeah.
There's a big homeless problem here. Definitely this the worst it's been since I've been here. There's fires going on everywhere. Every day it seems like near these homeless camps. Gunfire.
Jeez.
People getting shot.
Jeez.
The robberies, people robbing people for their dogs, for their watches, for all kinds of stuff.
Their dogs.
It's just yeah. You didn't hear the thing about Lady Gaga's dogs?
No.
So she had a dog walker that was walking these two. It wasn't pit bulls. It was I forget. It was 2 expensive dogs, basically.
Okay.
I think they're bulldogs or something. And this group of guys came up, tried to take the dogs. The dog walker fought back. They shot him.
What?
And they took the dogs. And they basically, she put out a reward for them. This lady came in and said, "Hey, I found these dogs like tied to a tree, like or whatever, and can I get the reward?" And it turns out that she was involved with the guys who stole them, and now they're all on trial, basically.
Wow.
But I saw another thing today where another dog was stolen, kind of close to my area. There was like a robbery in Beverly Hills at a restaurant out there during lunch, where these guys came and tried to steal this guy's watch. It was worth like $500,000 or something like that. And they took it, they fired a shot, and it ricocheted and hit some lady in the calf, I think. She went to the hospital. Just a lot of crazy things that are going on right now in California. And that's why people are unhappy with the governor, and they're going to have a recall vote this year.
I mean, they've been pretty unhappy with him for a while. I think I was hearing from my other friends that live in California. It sounds like their relations with him has been wearing thin for, almost a year at this point.
Yeah, it's the whole thing with the pandemic and all these other things added on to that is just not a good place. I mean, I think some of it is tough. Obviously the pandemic is a tough thing, but he also got caught, doing the things that he was telling people not to do. Going to the French Laundry and not wearing masks and so like that. I think that was really the turning point. And he lost all trust. I think then, and or a lot of trust at least, and nothing else is going great, and here we are.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Just move.
How are things in Honolulu, or how are things in Hawaii?
I think we're moving along pretty well. Vaccinations here are continuing to be going at a pretty good rate. It's starting to slow down a little bit, but now that it looks like younger kids are becoming eligible, I think we're going to see more people get vaccinated. And really, that's one of the biggest keys. Listening on NPR this morning, with the governor of Utah talking about the importance of, now that we have a lot of vaccinations or vaccinated people out in the community, the vaccinated people need to start acting like they're vaccinated. In a sense of, like, if you're in a room with other vaccinated people, you take your mask off.
Yeah,
And those type of things. And because if you don't do that, you're almost proving to the people that are hesitant to take the vaccine, you're proving to them that it's pointless to take the vaccine because it doesn't return us back to normal life.
yeah, yep.
Like the vaccine is the promise of. And so I think that's the next phase in all of this is, people like, have you been vaccinated? Did you get a chance to get vaccinated yet?
Yep, fully vaccinated, man.
Yeah. So yeah, people like us, like, that are vaccinated, got to act vaccinated. Like, okay with going out to eat dinner at a restaurant, and those type of things. And, there's such a psychological kind of thing involved with everything that went on with COVID, PTS everywhere and all that kind of stuff. We'll just see. It'd be interesting to kind of see how everything all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with eating outdoors. Like just
Yeah,
air.
outdoors is no problem at
Yeah.
all.
So
Yeah. But I think clearing up the message, and I think the CDC needs to kind of continue helping with clearing up the message, with what's safe and what's not, and continuing with the community education. And it probably takes a couple of vaccinations, probably booster shots over the
yeah,
next year before we get to the point where this gets more manageable
yeah,
and get some new normal soon, sometime in the next 9 to 12 months. But I look forward to traveling, going to meeting up with you in Vegas, kind of having some semblance of what things used to be like.
yeah. I can tell you right now, man. Vegas, at least on the weekends, it's back, man. There's so many people out there.
Pumping, pumping, yeah.
So much. I think the people that are out there now are a certain type of people that lend to craziness. So it's.
And it's not that it was a really sane place to begin with, too, though. Let's point that out.
No, right. Honestly, I think that since people have been locked up, people have gotten crazier. Like just being locked up, finally getting out. People driving on the freeway out here, they're driving like nuts. It's insane. Like it's scary the way people drive out here right now. And when you go out, I think it's the same thing. So I think you're seeing a lot of that. You're seeing a lot of people from another country that have been locked up going to Vegas, and they're gonna act out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, valid point. That I mean, I think people's perspectives are just, it's going to take a little bit to normalize a little bit. Like, this is traumatizing. This is a traumatizing time, and we'll just kind of see how everything really plays out, and hopefully the crime kind of dies down a little bit. And I don't know, man, crazy year, dude. Like, if we really think about, like, the last, 16 months, what a crazy time.
Yeah, never in my lifetime would I've ever imagined anything like this happening.
Yeah, I mean, we watched it in science fiction movies, but you always thought, it's just the movies, whatever. You know,
Yeah,
and then of course you get people that come out of woodwork. See, I told you this was going to happen. I'm like, oh boy,
yeah. I mean,
I can't go there. I just can't go there. Let's can't go there.
I mean, I guess if you study SARS and all that stuff, I mean, if you really think about it, it's bound to happen at some point.
I mean, yeah, Right, a pandemic was going to happen. It's happened throughout history, but it's kind of like the misinformation about the virus in the beginning. It didn't help with Trump saying it's called COVID-19 because it's the 1919 version of the of COVID, which wasn't true. You know what I mean? When you think about it, that's where we were. That's where it started, right? Like, oh man, go there. It's like this thing, right? Like Mel Gibson, no matter what you tell Mel Gibson, he'll always tell you the Holocaust never happened. Just kind of like you're always going to have this faction of people that kind of just believe certain things, that are just going to be out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one thing that social media has exposed is a lot of people, I guess, for who they are, or for lack of a better way of putting it.
Or it allows people to be themselves.
Yeah,
maybe that's
a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
But that's a topic for another time.
I think so. Yeah, there's so much to go over. I think revisiting with Ken would be good because we were. I think the last time we talked with Ken, when we talked about Ken Ye, who's been on a couple times now, I think we were kind of projecting kind of when we would be traveling and feeling a little forward traveling. Because I remember he was talking about coming in Hawaii and using his timeshare.
Yep.
And I think if we look back at so we weren't that far off. We weren't that far off that in the summer and the fall would be the time where with vaccines a lot of us would feel comfortable. We just got to actually do it. And kind of pull the Band-Aid off at some point in time.
Yep. So I think maybe on one of these upcoming episodes we'll have him back on and we'll talk about those things. Maybe even the next one.
But I think we covered a lot of ground here, Royce, on this episode.
Yeah, I think we did too.
But with that, Royce, let's sign off. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. Even without recording a new episode, our numbers were going up quite a bit in the last month, and so we appreciate you guys listening. Sorry for hurting your ears a little bit over this last month, but keep listening.
All right, everyone.